Welcome to a short video about DOGME, the DOGME approach to language teaching. Okay, so what is this approach? It's a method and a movement. It's a communicative approach that focuses on conversational communications between the learners and the teacher. The objective? To humanize the classroom through a radical pedagogy of dialogue, and that's from Templar in 2004. Origins. Okay, the idea came from an article in 2000 by Scott Thornbury. According to him, DOGME has 10 principles, which we'll go through now. It should be noted, however, that DOGME in language teaching is not related to the cinematic movement DOGME 95, which was created by Lars Von Trier, despite gaining its name from the use of an analogy with the movement. So the 10 key principles, starting with number 1. Number 1, interactivity. The most direct route to learning is to be found in the interactivity between teachers and students and amongst the students themselves. So you can clearly recognize the communicative approach from number 1. 2 is engagement. Students are most engaged by the content they have created themselves. And this picture is showing a script that one of my students created for a project and which they were quite proud of. Okay, number 3. 3 is dialogic processes. Learning is social and dialogic where knowledge is co-constructed. So learners are building the knowledge, a body of knowledge with themselves, with the teacher, obviously facilitating that. 4 is scaffolded conversations. So learning takes place through conversations where the learner and teacher co-construct the knowledge and skills. So very much a learner-focused approach. 5, emergence. Language and grammar emerge from the learning process. According to Thornbury, he suggests this is distinct from language acquisition. Okay, as I said, we will do another video, a longer video, looking at some of the more controversial aspects of this approach. This one's just going to be a short one to give you an overview. Okay, we're on to number 6. This is affordances. Definition of affordances: what the environment offers the individual. So the teacher's role here is to optimize language learning affordances by directing attention to the emergent language. I've interpreted this somewhat as identifying opportunities, and I think the picture serves this principle well. We've got lost, found, and searching. So perhaps the teacher's going to identify that searching is where we should be going here. 7, voice. The learner's voice is given recognition along with the learner's beliefs and knowledge. So a bit of a weird picture there, but I particularly liked it because it involves listening as well as voice. And when we look at beliefs and knowledge, I think another point I might add there is culture. Okay, so number 8, empowerment. Students and teachers are empowered by freeing the classroom of published materials and textbooks. Proponents, Thornbury himself, have also said that DOGME is not so much anti-materials as pro-learner. So we'll look at this point in a great more detail in a longer video. Number 9 is relevance. Material should have relevance for the learners. I think that goes back to a previous slide in some ways, where the learner is producing the material. Okay, and number 10, critical use. The teachers and students should use published materials and textbooks in a critical way that recognizes their cultural and ideological biases. So some scope there for interpretation, I think, of the point about textbooks, which I haven't looked at in too much detail here. I will do in the longer video. Here we go. We are now looking at the 3 key precepts. Now these emerge from the 10 principles according to Thornbury. The first one, conversation-driven teaching. Conversation is essential in this approach. It is the fundamental and universal form of language. It's considered to be language at work, according to Meddings and Thornbury. That's in 2009. DOGME places value on communication that promotes social interaction. Okay. 2. Materials light approach. Again, back to the point about less of a focus on fixed textbooks. It doesn't mean no materials. We'll look at that in the longer video. The way I've interpreted it here, perhaps more notebook and speaking and less textbook and or materials might be another way of looking at it. We'll go into some detail on that perhaps in the next video, where I'll sort of try to pull this, deconstruct it if you like. Okay, and precept number 3, emergent language. Again, this has been covered earlier on somewhat. Language is considered to emerge rather than be acquired. Firstly, through collaborative communication, and secondly, learners produce language that they were not necessarily taught. More than a facilitator, the teacher must encourage learners to engage with the new language to ensure learning takes place. In the longer video, we'll go into a bit more depth with this one too. Here are my references, mainly Thornbury himself, and all images used in that video were free to use. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I only really touched upon these concepts in this video. I wanted to keep it short, and I just about have done. So thank you very much. You'll see a longer one soon.